Hey people, in that last video I told you I was going to go into Tubal Cain, and I'm going to show y'all some stuff about Tubal Cain and where he's associated. But Tubal Cain is a Latin invention. There was no Tubal Cain in the original Greek or in the Hebrew Bibles. That was my attempt at a needle scratch. We see it here in the Latin in 22 Cella Focu, the Genuit Tubal Cain, and in the same line, Soer Vero Tubal Cain Noma. But here in the Greek it was Thobal, and this would be the Vav on. Tobal Vav on, and here it's just Tobal Noam. So this Noam is a representation, and then we see it here in the Hebrew in Zilla game of who. You see, this is the same word as he over here. Here it's who, and there it's high. But it's the game, and it's read backwards. AV of who? AV like aviary, birds. The game of who yield life. YLDE. Who yield life to Tubal Cain. But this Tubal Cain here, this B, it doesn't have any vowel markings in it. Nor this one here, the Tubal Cain. This is the B. It doesn't have any vowel markings in it. And so according to the rules, it's only a B with the vowel point in the center of it. And it's pronounced as a V when it doesn't have. So that would be Tuval. So all them vowel points don't mean anything anyway. That's not how this is read. But to excel the game of who yield life to, and then we got attack here. So this is going to read backwards and forwards. To love what? LBWT. To love what? To Vulcan, and then let's call. And it's got a hyphen here. It's going to read backwards. Sir, S-R, Sir Horace. Sir Horace knowest. Knowest, that's like the knowledge. The knowest. To the bars bind. So let's hit a couple of these words. This lets. This is L-tet. This is the T for collect. So it's let us. Let's call Sir Horace. And so to love what? To Vulcan. And so Vulcan is the ancient falcon. It's the ancient Chinese firebird. So Vulcan is the god of fire. That's where your word volcanoes come from. The volcano island over there off of Greece. And he was often depicted as a blacksmith, with a blacksmith's hammer. And he still is. He's the biggest cast iron statue in the world over there in Birmingham, Alabama. They got a 56-foot tall Vulcan, and he moons the city. He's got no pants on. He's throwing a moon back to the city behind him. But the god of fire and forge. So you've heard the word vulcanized before. It's your tires. They're called vulcanized rubber. It means hardened. and I think they add sulfur to the rubber to harden it. But when we harden steel, we do it differently. We heat it up red hot, and then we take old burnt motor oil. You know, when you change the oil on your truck, you save that old oil because it has all the carbon that was burned out of the gas. The traces go past your rings and embeds in your oil, and that's why you have to change it. It turns black with all that burnt carbon in there. And so you heat that iron up red hot, and it gets soft then, and you stick it down and quench it in that used motor oil, and it absorbs all that carbon. And so that carbon makes a hardened steel. It's called black iron. And so different people read this different ways, but to love what to blacken. Love what to blacken, and that's how we your hardened steel sockets, you know, for using your impact wrench, they're made out of black iron. It's harder. It's got that burnt carbon in it. So love what to Vulcan means to harden. Let's call Sir Horace. Sir Horace, the Falcon. Sir Horace. Oh, Sir Horace of the Creator gods, and he's sitting on the Trinity flag, the East India Trading Company, East India Spice Company, and you see, so he's sitting on the power. This is the old letter A here, A, and he's always sitting. All these gods sit in the same shape as that L, A-L. And then you have the life, the Ankh represents the life here. The he, Ale, him. You have his Jimmy stick over here. A Jimmy stick. This is his hardened steel crowbar. And it's what you use to work from, or to Jimmy, I-M-I, or J-M-I. The Alehem. So Tubal Cain is only in Genesis 4:22, is the only place you find that, and it's often talked about to be in the book of Jasher, but the book of Jasher is no more. When I find writings of it, it's often called the ripped cipher of Jasher. It was just in pieces, and it's often called in the tube. It was just pieces that were left in the tube. But it says in the book of Jasher, the name of Tubal Cain is explained by Zillah, his mother. After I had withered away, had I obtained him from the Almighty God. So Zillah was spelled X-L-E, the plant-vine life, and that's carbon. You know, when you burn a tree up after it's withered away, that's all you have is some black carbon left. Everything else is gone. You're left with black carbon. And so after she withered away, after the plant vine life withered away, was obtained the Tubal Cain, the hardened steel. And so Tubal Cain is known as the forger of instruments. And many people talk about the translation in King James is off, but it was the teacher of blacksmithing. They often say that one of the words is the teacher is wrong, and it means the sharpener of iron. So I get a lot of information from this the Masons, this Masonic dictionary. I'll leave a link down below. But whatever I read in the Bible overrides, because they don't have it all right. Sometimes they try to spread misinformation, it looks like, or maybe they just misunderstood. But of Tubal Cain, the sacred writings, as well as the Masonic legends, give us but scanty information. All that we hear of him in the book of Genesis, that he was the son of Lamech and Zillah. Lamach is spelled L-M-K, and that's the bind to make, or the bind from K is fold, and that's how you make that hardened steel. You dip that oil and fold it and hammer. If you're making a blade, you hammer it flat, and then you fold in more carbon. You could just use straight ash and fold it in. You don't have to use the oil. You can hammer it in though the Japanese way, the way they fold that iron, make those hard swords. But that's where your power was. Whoever had the hardest iron and the strongest armies, and that was the ancient power. But the bind from fold, the plant bind life, Lamach and Zillah, the bind from fold to the plant bind life, was instructor of every artifice in brass and iron. And that word for instructor, that's the one they dispute. They say it means the sharpener, which is, I try to sharpen up my students, so they could be instructor. Depends on the words around it. In brass and iron. So we already seen that the word for brass was knowest, the Gnostic knowledge. It wasn't brass. The knowledge in the bars to bind, in the iron. The knowledge in the iron. And the Hebrew original does not justify the common version, for lotesh does not mean an instructor. That's that word let's. To let's an instructor, but a sharpener. The first Masonic reference to Tubal Cain is found in the Legend of the Craft. He's called the founder of Smithcraft. Smiths, the blacksmiths. An explanation agreeing closely with the modern biblical scholarship, which designates him as the founder of the Guild of Smiths, or metal workers. So Lamach, before the flood, he had 2 wives, one named Ada, which was spelled O-D-A, to see through the knowledge of the plant bind life. To Lamach, Oda, and Zillah, to bind, to make fold, to see through the knowledge of the plant bind life, the carbon. And so that was a couple movies back that I talked about the Tubal and the Jabal, which were actually to believe. To the Jubal who, to believe, in the Jabal, and one was to believe, or to make believe, and the other was to believe the conware. The conware, to see Gab, the ones who played the flute and harp, the preachers and politicians. And these were the children of, these are the 4 children, the founder and the beginnings of all the sciences. So Tubal Cain founded the smithcraft of gold, silver, copper, and iron, and steel. And the daughter founded the art of weaving. That's where they left all the codes in the garb, in the bottom of their blankets and clothes. And these children knew that God would take vengeance for sin by either fire or water. So they wrote the sciences on the 2 pillars, one that could uphold to the fire and one could uphold to the water. So they knew they would still have them after the whatever God put on them. And so all that myth has other meanings, and we could get it straight out the Hebrew. But this is the 8 of creation, the Ogdod, and the Greeks call it the Octode, the 8 of creation, the 8 toad heads. But the sisters have snake heads. And so if you look close, the 4, they're always sister wives. The toad's name, and then his sister wife will have the same name, but it'll end with this little egg and this bread loaf. This is the T. This is Et. So this is where et comes from, the suffix on words that make it feminine. This is the et. That's where that comes from. The toad and the toadette. So in this ancient symbol for Tubal Cain, if you Google thub, this will come up, and that's because a thub is a protrusion. That's your thumb. That's the protrusion that keeps you from sticking your hand down in the bottom of a jar when you're washing it. It's a thub. But this is also a thub right here, and they say that it's supposed to be a hand and a thumb up like this. But thub is also a knot in the end of a line to keep it from falling through. If it's running through a block and tackle, and you turn it loose, it stops when it gets to that thub. It won't run. All the line won't fall out. It's also a thub. Thub was also known as a menstruation knot. You tie it in the end of your rag to keep it from falling off. So they try to call this the Tubal Cain, but you also have the Tubal, the thub, T-U-B, the thub here. So you can see the difference between the brother and the sister here is the AHIV, or witch power, and then here it ends with the T, the UT, the et, the watchet. But yeah, this was to the same witch power to make believe. They life job to put piss can. The piss can where to see connect, or to see ug in. An ug is a foot, a UG. I guess it's still used. There's a footwear company called Uggs today. With the can, so he's a joker. To make believe they life job to cause put piss can where to see again. It's right there by the bed. When you wake up, it might be an army joke. You know, you take the new guy and put the piss can beside his bed, and then you ring the fire alarm. He jumps up and puts his foot in the piss can. But so Zilla, to make the plant bind life, to lift from the game, to lift from of who yield life to love, what to Vulcan, to harden. Let's call Sir Horace. Knowest, the knowledge in, knowest to the bars bind. Watch what, W-A-H or C-H, watch what to ball, and then it's got the hyphen, so this is now the knife in, N-I-Q-I-N. And so to ball is in bind, B is in bind, or to vel, knife in. But to bind the knife in gnome. And so that was the knife in gnome that we were looking at. This is the knife in gnome. Alright, so it's the end of my month. My internet's running short now. I'm gonna load this up here, and y'all let me know what y'all want to hear about next. I know I promised a lot of things, and I start reading, and I get distracted. I find something that I find more interesting. But y'all let me know, and I'll get back to it. All right, good day.